27 years ago in 1989, the Mazda Miata debuted. It really redefined what a sports car could be. Sure, it was topless and fun to drive, but it was also reliable and economical to own. Fast forward to today, behind me, the 4th generation Miata. It's also back to basics in many ways. So, will I be impressed? Let's find out. In an age when car design is highly dictated by engineering and safety specifications, the 4th generation Miata is a triumph of automotive sculpting. While the original looked like a Lotus Elan, this one takes styling cues from the Corvette and perhaps even Ferraris. Smaller than the last 3rd generation Miata, which I've previously tested, this one is actually very close in size to the original Miata. It's also just as appealing to my eye. In the same way the original Miata was less provoking, this one is once again a car to yearn for. Of course, the interior has been totally redesigned too and is similar to other Mazdas these days. The seats are kind of tiny but supportive at the same time. Comfortable over the long haul, they contour to your body well. No power adjustment, but hey, this is a sports car after all. Storage is a bit tough. You've got this tiny little container here, and you've also got this right here, but it's pretty sparse. Not even a glove box. Of course, that's not why you're buying the Miata. Here's where you actually release the top and can put it back up. Very convenient. Clicks right in to store. So the convertible top is nice. Manual in this case. But really, it's all about sporty styling in this sports car, and it's definitely got that. I like the red piping. I like the design across the dash, and it's all sleek and smooth, basically. You've got Miata's new controls for the infotainment screen, more on that later. This is your volume, push, toggle left to right here, and of course, you get a real handbrake and the super snicky 6-speed manual transmission that the Miata is famous for. You also get a bit more storage here, seat heaters, 2 USB inputs, which is nice, and of course an auxiliary in for your smarter iPhone 2. Very straightforward heating and ventilation controls here. You get really cool looking vents here. You also get sort of an aftermarket looking infotainment screen, but it does get the job done. Push button start is definitely a welcome addition. The steering wheel is on the small side, feels great in your hand. You get Bluetooth over here for your phone. You can also control the radio, and you have this information screen here which controls this display and gives you a bit of information. On the right side of the steering wheel you have your cruise control, and of course you've got Sirius gauges for this Mazda Miata sports car. Large tachometer, speedometer over here, and that info screen I talked about earlier, plus a temperature gauge and a fuel gauge. The pedals are very well laid out, a little bit close, but that's good because you can do some heel and towing if you like. On the left side of the steering wheel you can cancel the traction control, which I never recommend. You also have controls for your blind spot monitoring and your lane keep assist too. On the door you have controls for your power windows and door locks, also your mirrors, and a place to store your phone too if you like. All in all, it's a sporty interior that's really all about the business of going fast, with just the right amounts of luxury and tech thrown in for good measure. Pop open the trunk, and it's got pretty deep storage. It's certainly not large by any stretch of the word, but you can certainly take a weekend's worth of bags with you on a nice road trip. Powering the Miata is a Skyactiv 2-liter dual overhead cam 4-cylinder, which produces 155 horsepower and 148 pound-feet of torque. It's mated to a 6-speed manual transmission and gets to 60 in just 5.9 seconds. Fuel economy is rated at 27 miles per gallon in the city, 34 miles per gallon on the highway. You can expect 30 miles per gallon overall. Pricing for the 2016 Mazda Miata is basically right at $30,000, just above when you add in destination. But this is the Grand Touring version, so it is the top of the line, and it's got a lot of luxury items in it, like heated seats, and it also has, of course, Sirius XM radio, it's got Bluetooth, it's got cruise control, it's got a nice infotainment screen that keeps you in touch with your phone. It also has a great 2-liter engine, and it's really, really quite fun to drive. When you're comparing it to other cars on the market, well, there's not too much out there that you can compare it with. There is the Scion FRS Subaru BRZ, and those are certainly fun to drive. This one is, however, quicker and, in my opinion, much better because it's a convertible. I love a roadster, and the Miata is the quintessential roadster. So there's really not much on the market that compares to it. Certainly there are cars that are faster out there, but they're also a lot more money, and faster is not really the point with the Miata. This is a sports car that can be driven to its limit, and you can have fun with it every day. Your commute to the grocery store, your commute to work is going to be just a very enjoyable event, especially if you can drive through the back roads. This Mazda Miata is all about driving, and I love what they've done to it. The new look is incredible. It really looks like a Corvette when you gaze over the bonnet, and it looks very, very aggressive. I think the Miata, it's gotten a lot bigger lately, and this one really goes back to basics, and I love it. It's close in size to the original Miata, which is great. That's a small car. This is a small car. It's also extremely light, too. They've also pared down the weight, which is very important in the Sky Active philosophy, sort of like Lotus's philosophy of building them light and putting a small engine in, and still it can be competing with much larger cars. This one can be a dragon killer on the track if driven correctly, because it's a really light and very maneuverable car, excellent in the turns, and if you're a good driver, you can certainly keep up with faster cars on the track, especially if they don't know what they're doing. But Sky Active is also about the engine, it's also about the weight, and it's really about doing everything that Mazda cars can do to keep the weight down and therefore increase the performance, also increase the economy. It's a great philosophy, and you'll find it here in the new Miata. Now everything has really changed in the new Miata. It's all new inside and outside. It now has electric assisted steering. What does that mean? Well, it's a more modern way of handling the steering, and in many cases it actually is not a good thing because it numbs the feedback through the wheel. But this one might be a bit number than the last one, but it still has excellent feedback through the steering wheel, and you absolutely know what this Miata is doing at all times, and that's a great thing. They've also tweaked it a bit for the fuel system, where it'll actually take premium fuel. It prefers premium, but you can still use regular unleaded in it as well. You'll just have a bit more better performance if you use the higher octane fuel. Now, in terms of my Drivin Ivan technology integration score, well, like I said, it's a bit quirky. This knob here is pretty hard to get to if you have the seat forward, and you know, the infotainment screen does feel a little aftermarket to me. But that being said, this Miata is of course all about driving. I'm afraid for my Drivin Ivan technology integration score, it's definitely middle of the road. I'll give it a 6, I guess. But still, you can access everything, you can learn it, and it's not so bad. But that's one of the main drawbacks to the Miata, and probably its only drawback is just that there's not a lot of storage. It's a small car, hey, and you know, that compartment back behind me, it's pretty awkward to get to when you're driving, and the cup holder is kind of behind you, but hey, that's the way it is. That's the way it is in my Audi TT, and that's the way it is in this Mazda Miata, because after all, it is a sports car. But I just love looking out over the hood here, and you're certainly down low. Every other car is certainly much higher than you, but it does get decent visibility all around, and you do have the blind spot warning that keeps you protected. There you see the light, keeps you aware of cars around you and keeps you safe, so that's a good thing. It's got nice built-in safety as well for you. And checking out the night look here with that very pleasing beep in the background, well, it looks good. I like the neutral kind of, it's almost like a gray-white color, and it looks good. Now, if I didn't have it in reverse, it wouldn't be making all that noise, but since I do, it's keeping me safe. Now this isn't really what you want to see when you're behind the wheel of the Miata, but they did equip this one with snow tires because they knew that snow was coming, and it does affect the handling a bit. Should be better in the snow, but you can certainly see that if you press the gas, it will slip, and you know, the traction control is going to help a little, but I wouldn't put 100% faith in that, because in slippery conditions you want to be very careful. So bear in mind, any rear-wheel drive car you're driving, snow and rain really accentuate that loose back-end feeling of any rear-wheel drive car, especially front-engine rear-wheel drive cars. So you got to be careful, you got to stay alert. See, there's trouble everywhere. But like I said, this Miata is very predictable, even in snowy handling. The Miata here is not about the way they've integrated the infotainment screen or the knobs to use it. Now, it's all about the driving. It's the way the shifter feels. It's the way the steering wheel feels in your hand. It's the way when you throw it into a corner that it just responds. Not only does it feel quick, but it is quick. This is the first Miata that's really felt really fast to me. Most of them feel adequate, like they have enough power to have fun with, but not too much to get in trouble with. But this one feels very quick. You can actually get it loose really anytime you want, especially with the traction control off. But it's really very predictable. It handles exactly as you think it should, and it's just a joy to drive. You'll be making up excuses to go out to the store in the Miata here. Mazda has really knocked it out of the park with this Miata. It really is incredibly fun to drive with just the right amount of power to weight ratio, and you can just place it on a dime. It's just so fun to drive. The engine tone is great too. But in the end, summing up this new Miata, Mazda really got it right in terms of the driving and the look. Basically all the things you want the Mazda Miata for, Mazda got it right. This is an excellent sports car. It's an excellent roadster. It returns to the roots of the Mazda Miata. It goes back in history, back in time, and this really is just like the first one. It's that desirable. I remember when it came out back then, it was just the car everybody wanted, and I've already seen a lot of these on the road. People are going to lust after this Mazda Miata, and they will not be disappointed. Thanks for watching. Don't forget to subscribe to me on YouTube. Don't forget to follow me on Twitter. I'm Drivin Ivan.